All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited about this one here because he called us out on Sportswire Radio. He called us out on our social media pages. He wanted a shot. He wanted his crack. And you know what? For good reason. Because if you look at his story, what he's done in the professional wrestling business, he is somebody that I think you're going to like. You're going to want to hear from much more. He's actually currently a champion, even. So this is somebody that I got to tell you something. We're very, very excited to see him back in the ring. He is now a huge thing over here at our friends over at Nonstop Action Wrestling. So very, very excited to have him on here and looking forward to getting into his story. So with that, further ado here on the Sports Report, number one, global pro wrestling star here from Nonstop Action Wrestling. That is from the Fighting Irish. His name is Chris Murphy. My friend, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me. It did take a little while, like a bit of convincing. I was like, I kind of want to do this. Like, this looks really fun to do.
I think I'd want to do it at this point. In fact, I did that intro so long, I almost chuckled, which usually I never chuckle on these intros. But I'm in a different spot. Usually I'm in a different spot when I record this. But we're here nor there. But obviously, it is good to be with you, my friend. Obviously, you've got quite a story. You've got quite a journey. We'll get into all of that here. You're actually a current reigning, defending PROW Tag Team Champion. So we'll talk about all of that here shortly in a second. But set the tables for us and your involvement at Nonstop Action Wrestling, because we saw you obviously this past weekend there at the Be Strong Performance Fitness Center there in Switten as a part of that Battle Royal, and set the tables for us here and what that was like and some of the expectations you have for Nonstop Action Wrestling going forward.
Well, to be fair, that was a very, very good experience. I was in the Battle Royal. I unfortunately was unlucky to finish third place. I kind of got a bit screwed out of there. The guy pulled the rope down illegally. Just saying.
Yep. All right. We'll get into that. I did watch it, so we will get into it. Rest assured.
But to be fair, I am enjoying what they're doing. Like, I've got to give them full praise. Like, from such a young company, the fact that they've managed to sell out pretty much all their shows from the first year, and I'm like, you know what? That is very impressive. These guys have literally gone from nothing to something, and it's doing very, very well. Like, that's why I want to be part of it, because it's just a lot of fun. People come to enjoy it. They obviously enjoy it. They're coming back. And I'm really, really liking the company. Like, I've said that to them as well. Every time I go, I've been twice now. The first one, let's not talk about, because obviously I got cheated out of that match as well.
Well, maybe we'll bring it up, but we'll wait for a little while. We'll see how we go from here, for sure.
Sounds good.
But no question that I couldn't agree with you more when it comes to Nonstop Action Wrestling, because I look at this company and I see the energy, and I've covered a lot of companies here on Sportswire Radio. I mean, some big names and some other names, maybe a little more on the totem pole. But when I feel like with this company, there's just almost an organic energy. I watch Asylum, I watch Exordium, I watch Christmas Carnage, I watch, obviously, the last show, Fire and Gold here, and I just feel like that there's something different here. I just feel like that these wrestlers are hungry, and I always feel like I always want to gravitate to something here when it comes to energy, and I feel like right now everybody's hungry there. Do you find that? Because you're a veteran, you've been in the ring a long time, you've been a champion, we just spoke about that. I mean, you've been in there with some big names. I mean, talk to me about your thoughts on that.
To be fair, I think everyone there is showing that they want to be like in the main event scene. The fact they've crowned their first champion, so congratulations. Like, that's not really easy thing to do, having to crown your first champion. Sure. And I can't disagree with who won it. Like, he fully deserves it. Absolutely amazing guy, amazing worker, completely deserved. And it's just everyone there wants that title. Like, everyone there wants to be on the card. Everyone who was there at the show who wasn't involved in the matches want to be part of it. And I'm like, you know what? Some people may not think that. Like, because when you're young, you're like, I want to be part of it, but I'm not sure. But these guys, like, throw me in. And I'm, like, very, very impressed by that. and everything they're doing is great.
Absolutely. And of course, if you like what you hear from Nonstop Action Wrestling, I highly encourage that you give them a follow on Instagram at NSAW Wrestling UK. Also, NSAW Wrestling _ UK on Twitter. Also, like their YouTube page, Nonstop Action Wrestling, and as well here on Facebook. And also, want to mention a couple of comments. Somebody says here, better luck next time, dude. I think I know who that individual might know. And then obviously, somebody who will be back here in the future, Dante O'Cara. And of course, Mr. O'Cara, we've seen quite a bit of late here on social media and obviously at Nonstop Action Wrestling as I watched his match against Young Horace. And what a match that was, I have to say. I got to give it up for Dante O'Cara and Young Horace because what a great match that was here. And he says, this man stole my phone. So
if you need context, I can explain.
All right, talk about this because I think people are going to want to hear this.
Like, you literally, someone leaves their phone around, you're going to take selfies. And it was like, okay, I'll take this and take a few selfies. So then I got a few other people involved. So in all fairness, I'm just filling up his phone with memorable pictures.
Well, I guess looking at the size of you, and no disrespect to Dante O'Cara, but if you steal my phone, I'm going to probably say, yeah, okay, whenever you want to give it back, Mr. Murphy, I'll definitely wait until you decide it's done. So I guess there's a context to it. But I wanted to ask you this question, and obviously you've been at different companies, you've seen some big things, you've been in there with some big names. I mean, how does this company compare to maybe some of the other companies that you've done well in?
It's like, as you previously mentioned, like, everyone in this company is hungry for more. And like the fact is they're willing to listen as well. Like, I'm not the best around, but I see little things at bits and bobs where I'm just like, maybe this could be done slightly different way. And they're like, okay, we'll give that a go. The fact is they listen, they want to make things better. Like, you go to a lot of places, some people may think, oh, we know more, we know best. But the truth is no one knows it all in wrestling. Like, and the fact is, people are willing to listen and learn. I think it gives everyone there a big bonus, and it makes it stand out for me. Because I could just be talking. I said to him before, like, I could be talking absolute waffle, but take what I say with a pinch of salt. If you like the idea, go with it. If you think it makes sense, go with it. But not everyone there has been spot on, very welcoming as well. When I first came, I was just walking in. I was like, okay, I feel very awkward. But then it's sort of like everyone there afterwards came up to me, as you should do in wrestling, walk up, shake your hand, introduce yourself. Very lovely. But yeah, I think this company has got potential. Like, the more and more they do, the more it can progress. And the guys there, if they keep working hard and keep pushing themselves, you never know, they're going to go above me. But a lot of people.
Well, we'll see. We'll certainly see. We'll have to wait a while to do that. But for sure, I definitely agree with you about many of those things, especially in professional wrestling, because I've gotten to know a number of different wrestlers. And there is a big part to what you said where you kind of have to be able to show your respect to everybody in the locker room. And I think a lot of the talent off the air definitely do that. And of course, Young Horace says here, good work on Saturday. And Young Horace is on a run all of a sudden. I've had him on a couple of times, and it was obviously the streak that everybody was speaking about, not the streak that Kyle Kennedy had. And now he's kind of on a run here. Got a couple of big wins here. And also, I got to get to Pride here. And Pride says, after reviewing the footage after we were evicted, what you did to Horace, we are somewhat glad we were distracted by Drac that evicted as so not to face the brunt of that attack. You want to respond to that before I come back to Young Horace?
I mean, to be fair, Drac was a very terrifying guy. But
Yep, well, I saw.
All I'm saying is the guy who eliminated him is still standing. Just saying. Like, a little nod to the audience and be like, he's going out. Because, you know what, you can never trust in wrestling.
Well, especially in battle royals, by the way, in battle royals, because they always say there's always within a battle royal, everybody's got their own kind of thing, more or less. Everybody's kind of got their own, because there's obviously a goal. There's obviously, look, it's every man for themselves or every woman for themselves, obviously, because in Rumbles we have different situations. But the fact of the matter is that, I mean, look, you're there not to make friends. You're there to win, especially that battle royal that we saw at the Be Strong Performance Fitness Center there in Swinton.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, I was there to win. I teamed up with him because I teamed up with Drax because I knew he would help me take them out a little bit. But as soon as his use was done, I'm like, no, you're out of there, mate. Like, I want to win. And I had them both. I had them both. One out. The second one, Horace just got. I had him beat. That's the thing. If you saw him, he couldn't even pull the rope down properly. He had to collapse.
Yep,
He literally
I saw.
collapsed on the floor. Couldn't even put it down nicely. Like, he literally couldn't stand at that point because he knew I had him beat. I literally turned to the crowd. I'm literally pushing him to the ropes with my boot.
Yeah, I did
Not
see
even
that, by the
dragging him.
way.
I'm literally just pushing him along with my boot. Kind of says how much of a chance he had against me.
Interesting words here for sure. And I want to give a shout out to our very good friend Uncle Ralph from Top Tier over in CCW, which sometimes does some work with Nonstop Action Wrestling. And he says, "Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you, Uncle Ralph, for the follow on Instagram as well." But let's come back to Young Horse, because I do see something kind of building a little bit between you and him. And obviously now he had a huge win over in UKW, Wrestlebration against Bishop, and he's now won a couple of matches in a row here. And obviously the Rumble, he had a lot of success. I mean, what makes him right now somebody that maybe you want to get your hands on at the moment?
The fact is that I had him beat, and the fact he eliminated me, like, I just can't let
Because you
that
were on
go.
social media when you called this out, you were pretty confident there, my friend. I was
I
watching
was
some of the
sure.
comments. You were
I was
very
a.
much.
I was 100% sure I was winning that match. I went into that match knowing I'm gonna win, and then that happens. And as you saw, I had that match won. And don't get me wrong, Horace is a really great up and coming wrestler. He is very, very good. But I could beat him. But the thing is, he's got that next match at the Halloween show. So if he wins, I know what I want next. I want that
Hmm.
title.
Well, I'll tell you what, as crazy as it sounds, I mean, Halloween is right around the corner. It almost feels like yesterday I was first speaking about Nonstop Action Wrestling. So certainly we'll find out here. I mean, and I kind of feel like that, and we'll get into the comeback. We'll get into some of that. But I almost feel like after hearing you and also watching the show this past weekend, and again, you can also watch some of the show actually on the Nonstop Action Wrestling Instagram page, because they actually took almost kind of like a sideways video. In fact, that's kind of actually how I watched it. In fact, I got the link to watch it through a different site, but I'm like, well, it's on Instagram. And I actually went like this and was like watching it. And I wound up watching it that way. So I appreciate NSAW for doing that. But I mean, I almost feel like that you got some motivation here. You got some incentives here. It's a new company. They've had some success. They got a buzz about him. And for you to come in here and I think to make a mark and to get a championship, and especially a championship, let's say even like the world-class title that is held by Tommy Dillon, and we'll get to Tommy Dillon for sure in a few minutes. I mean, I got to think that you got a lot of incentives right now.
Sure. I mean, that will have to go down to their management. End of the day, they've got their plans for Horace to face him. And to be fair, I don't mind waiting. I'm a patient guy. I get what I want in the end.
Well, let me ask you then, because obviously you touched upon it, and young Horace and the wild card Tommy Dillon will be scoring often. And I want to add that at some point very soon we'll be getting on the wild card Tommy Dillon, and we would have done it sooner. But at this point, I'm backed up with so many different things, and I'm also working at the same time, and I'm trying to figure out life situations. So it's a juggling act. But we will definitely make sure also to get back young Horace as well, because we actually owe him. He was actually on the show, and then he had like technical difficulties, and then we only got maybe a few minutes of the interview, but we'll get him back because he's on a big run right now. But when it comes to a young Horace and a Tommy Dillon, you prefer one or the other there, or you have a thought on that?
Well, if I face Horace, it's an easy win. If I face Tommy Dillon, it'll be a challenge. I think they'll both be a bit of a challenge, but I think Tommy will be. Since he's a champion, he's going to give it his all not to lose that title. The problem is, though, what happens if Horace wins? What happens with him? Does it make or break? Does he break and crumble under the pressure of what I'm going to cause him? Or does Tommy Dillon crumble when I come for him?
Well, it's interesting because right now you think about it, and crazy as it sounds, is we're speaking with pro wrestling star here, Chris Murphy, and Nonstop Action Wrestling, and he's currently the PRW Tag Team Champion there. So certainly he is a current champion already. So obviously we'll certainly hold up that
Two
championship
belts.
for us, champ. Hold
I
it up
wouldn't. I
for us.
wouldn't say no to two belts. Like one here and one here.
Hey, listen, Roman Reigns is going around with 2 titles. I mean, Kenny Omega had like 7 titles going around here last year,
True.
but let's go before we get to all that here. And Young Horse has a comment. I also want to shout out Shelby Sinar, Beth Ann Jones. I'll get to everybody in a second. But right now, you think about it, and I think that these two wrestlers, in a way, are in a similar position because
Mm.
the wild card Tommy Dillon, great story, underdog, and obviously he's gone through a lot of obstacles in his personal life and started his wrestling journey at a relatively older age compared to most, but now he has the championship. Young Horace started his career 0-34. Now, all of a sudden, he's the new Kyle Kennedy right now. He's the new everybody, you fill in the blanks, right? But I think in some ways or another, these guys are in a similar spot where, you know what, the
Yeah.
champion, they always say, you know this, you've been a champion. The toughest defense is the first defense. And now you've got a wrestler right now in Young Horace who's got momentum and went from one extreme to another. So, I mean, in some ways, these wrestlers are coming at it from very similar positions, and it's kind of unknown who would come away here with the title.
True. True. That's the thing. They both come up very, very well and unexpected backgrounds as well. Like Tommy Dillon, fair play to the guy. He is. He works his excuse my language. He works his ass off. He is 110% everything he does. I give him so much credit. Not saying Horace doesn't. Horace does as well. They are both extremely hardworking people and deserve to be where they are. I mean, that's what I mean. I've got to give them credit. I can't knock their work rate. Horace, though, I've got to say, little cheat in that battle royal, but let's ignore that. I will give him his moment in the sun. But just know, I think whoever has that title will have to keep up the same energy as they did to win it when they're defending it. Because if any second they slip, then poof, it's gone. And it will be if any of them take their eye off the ball for a second.
I want to come back to some of your thoughts on being a champion because you're currently a champion, but I promised I want to get into some comments here. Beth Ann Jones says Chris Murphy with an exclamation point.
Thank you.
Shelby Sinar, I believe I can safely say it's Shelby Sinar. Of course, Shelby, we had the honor to speak with. And Shelby, I see, is getting ready, it looks like, for her own comeback in the ring. So I'm very excited to see. Yep, yeah, she kind of, I think, pretty much more than hinted at it on Facebook a couple of days ago. So I'm really, really excited to see what happens
Brilliant.
with Shelby. And she does a phenomenal job. You'll probably see her in Blackheart Wrestling coming up here this Sunday as they have a charity show. You see her obviously each and every week a part of UKW and all the great things UKW does. And we have here, some say the chase to the title is the easiest part. Holding it is another. So absolutely, listen, we saw it all. Listen, Daniel Bryan, right? Daniel Bryan chased that championship. Then when he got the title, it was, I mean, there were some wrestlers. Listen, Austin chased that title for so long, so long. I mean, there were some wrestlers and they chased the title. They're great title chasers. Then they get it. I mean, listen, Mankind was champion 3 times. He held the title 3 times in like 10 days. DDP was a champion. 3 title runs he had, maybe it was a total of a month. I mean, there were some wrestlers. Sting, for example. I mean, Sting won the title a lot, but Sting to me was always a far better chaser. Undertaker as another example. But Young Horace is with us, and he says, you never have someone beat until the bell rings, brother. Care to respond?
I mean, the fact that everyone in the front row was looking scared after I hit my Styles Clash on him, thinking, oh no, he's won. Everyone knew in that building that I won. You could see it from the live stream.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I thought that you had it from watching it because I just said I was watching it on Instagram, and I thought that you were the guy that was going to be going on to face Tommy Dillon at the next show.
I should be. The fact that Horace says it, fair play to him, but just know it should be me because the fact that I absolutely destroyed you. Bear in mind, it was 2-on-1. It was you and Steve, and you both could not beat me at that point, and I only got out.
Well, look at the size of this man, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. I know we're going to have Disciple on tomorrow, right? And Disciple is obviously probably an equal to yours in that. But look at the size of this man right now. Look at his face. Look at the tattoos that we saw earlier. Would you really think when it comes to this individual
Ooh.
one-on-one, anybody's going to get him down off his feet? I mean, and in person, I can guarantee you, because again, I was just at a show from House of Glory, which I'll be at their next show coming up here next Sunday. I mean, trust me, it right now what you see does not do him any justice. It does not do him due diligence because in person, he's even a lot bigger than what he looks right now. So let's think about it here, ladies and gentlemen. Could anybody really get him off his feet, Chris Murphy, one-on-one? Probably not.
Probably not. No, they can try, but as Horace knows, the only top rope saved him. That top rope saved him. Other than that, he knew I had him beat that whole match. He was on
How
the floor
much have you watched back the tape?
quite a few times. And the fact is, I got with a boot earlier in that match. Before all of that, I thought I could get him again. And he clearly remembered I hit him with a boot once, went for it one more time. He may have got the better of me on that one occasion. But just know, Horace, I can beat you any place, anytime, whenever you're ready.
Well, I gotta tell you this. I gotta tell you because I want to come back to young Horace, and obviously, I do want to spend a few minutes on the whole situation here, where Tommy Dillon wins the world class title and he becomes the company's champion, the first ever champion. So certainly a double combo here that he pulled off. But I mean, there is a point that I think, and I want to bring this comment back on the screen here, is about the fact I do think that holding the title is very difficult. I had on Reynaldo. I had on here when he had won the LWF title and he had won it against Nick Cutter in the LWF last year. And he hadn't been a champion in almost 10 years. And a lot of people had looked at it and said, well, can Reynaldo hang on to the title? And he's been able to defy the odds here so far. And I do think that it is very difficult to stay champion. It'll be very difficult to be able to hang on, especially for a Tommy Dillon, because young Horace right now, listen, leave aside everything that happened between you and him in this world. He's got some big wins now. He beat Bishop. He beat Dante Okara. I mean, that was one of the better matches I've seen. I mean, that was listen, all the matches are great at NSAW, but this match in particular, what these guys did, I mean, just phenomenal stuff. So there's no question that he's on a run right now. And I kind of think that it's very difficult to stay a champion. I mean, what advice would you give even to a Tommy Dillon? Yourself being a champion, a multiple-time champion in different companies, what would the advice that you would be? Even though I know you want to take his title, but what advice would you give to him?
Never trust anyone. Never trust anyone. Look after yourself. End of the day, someone can turn on you in an instant. And then, poof, your title's gone. And also, don't think you're the big dog just because you got that title. There's always a bigger one coming from behind.
Oh, stay tuned for that here, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, if you like what you hear from Chris Murphy, go over to his Facebook page. In fact, we tagged it just now in the interview. Make sure, because this is a guy, he's got quite a story. I'm looking forward to getting into it. But I think the story of Chris Murphy, the chapter has not been fully written here yet. It has not been written because something tells me he's got gold already, but he could be, listen, Chris two belts. They were two belts here coming up.
I was the original. I had that before her. I just
there's
a
lot of wrestlers though in history that have been double champions. I mean, the British Bulldog, a lot of people forget, he was a European and a tag team champion at one time together. The Ultimate Warrior was technically at WrestleMania 6, the world champion and the Intercontinental champion. Shawn Michaels had the European in the world. So there's a long list of wrestlers who've been double champions. But I know one thing, Chris Murphy is definitely right up with all of those. And I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And I do want to give a shout out to my very good friend, Anthony Finkel, who's texting, usually on the streams, but he's texting me right now stuff because we were going back and forth about the fact I'm going to be at a wrestling show coming up next week at House of Glory, which I believe Malachi Black is going to be in the main event. So I'm looking forward to that. Of course, my very good friend from the New York area, Chris Urban, is going to be there wrestling the opening match. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but hey, that's too bad.
It's out there now.
Yeah, it's out there now. So certainly, I don't think they're going to be too mad about that. But obviously, all great things there. And of course, if you like what you hear from Chris, do give a follow to his Facebook page also, if you like what you hear from us on Sportswire Radio, I highly encourage you to give us a follow on Facebook at Sportswire Radio, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. And I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And I want to give a shout out to the man that used to be undefeated. He used to be 5-0, 6, and I'm sure you heard all about. He was unbeaten.
6-1. Is it 6-1
now?
Yeah, there we go. 6-1.
And that's Mr. Sportswire, the lawman Kyle Kennedy. And obviously, I'm sure you were obviously watching in the back his match against Conor Cage. And you have any thoughts on Mr. Sportswire, the lawman Kyle Kennedy? I mean, I to be honest with you, I'm disappointed because I should or shouldn't say this, but he was my pick to actually win the NSAW World Class title. I would love to have seen you and him square up for the title. Let me just put it that way. I think that would have sold a lot more tickets. I think we'd be sold out for the next show already right now. So I want to put it out there that even though I get a lot of grief for this, I even get grief from wrestlers and other companies. I'm a big fan of the lawman Kyle Kennedy, Mr. Sportswire, and he should be the champion. He should be undefeated, but unfortunately, he was my person I had predicted to win the title, and that's why I'm here and not at NSAW. But you have any thoughts on Mr. Sportswire, the lawman Kyle Kennedy? Because I see him right here on the screen.
Oh, well, Mr. Vlogman himself.
He does vlog a lot.
Yeah. So, Mr. Vlogman, Kyle Kennedy. Yeah, I'm gutted that he lost, only because I could have beaten him, and I want to be that number one. But unfortunately, he was beaten already, so I can't beat him. But I feel like he is someone who can go higher and higher, like in wrestling as well. He's doing himself favors. Like obviously that win streak could have gone on longer. Unfortunately, it didn't. But as you know, one setback, what do you do then? You come back stronger. You learn from mistakes. But he has impressed me so far. Like the fact he went on a win streak when he's quite new into this.
Yeah, but you think about it, you think of his career, and I mean, here's a guy that's wrestled, 6-7 months, basically, in terms of a real career, and he went undefeated as long as he did, and Mr. Sportswire wants to remind, which I did notice, by the way, on the Instagram page of Nonstop Action Wrestling, says, I should have won, that stupid old lady put me off my game. Yeah, I mean, have you seen that before with an old lady, the way that old lady was in that match? I mean, I don't know if I've seen that before.
I mean, I've heard and seen some interesting stuff in the front row, but that's where the experience side comes in, mate. You literally got to learn to avoid the crowd. Like, if you want to win, you got to do anything you can to win. And it doesn't mean getting distracted by someone trying boo.
But if you were in that spot, though, with that old lady, how would you have dealt with it?
Tell her to shut up, pick up the guy, and slam him.
All right, fair. That's why you are the Fighting Irishman, obviously. That's why they say you are Mr. Fighting Irish. So, I mean, fair play to you. So, I guess I'll give you that. But obviously, we look forward to having Mr. Sportswire back. And what do you think of those vlogs, brother? You don't strike me as a vlogger, even though I know you have a pretty big YouTube page also, which I have to plug, which I know that we're still going around. Are you still trying to get people to get you to 500 subscribers? What was it? To jump off the bungee?
Oh, God. Yeah, I remember that. That was like a couple of years ago.
About 3 years ago. Yep.
Yeah, because now I'm doing more cosplaying on TikTok, believe it or not. So
and on Twitch as well. We have a Twitch page I saw as well, correct?
Yeah, I've not been on that in a while. It's mainly just been TikTok. To be honest, I've been enjoying TikTok.
I get asked all the time. People ask me, wrestlers from all over the world now ask me, they say, Tom, are you on TikTok? And I say, I got YouTube, I got Twitter, I got Facebook, I got Instagram. I'm even on LinkedIn, which I get in trouble for because I post all this stuff on my LinkedIn.
Join the club.
I mean, I have so much stuff at this point. I mean, I don't even know how you have time for TikTok.
Honestly, I've got boxes of costumes on my right-hand side here. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, I don't know where I get the time. Plus, I just love the whole cosplay side of it because I'm a massive Star Wars fan.
Okay.
And
yeah, I have to say, you're going to probably get in so much trouble for me for saying this, and we'll come back. I have Robert Takara with us here in a second. I want to get to Robert Takara, but yeah. I actually saw Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker like 9 times in the movie theater.
Really?
I would see it like every other day when it came out because I really loved the movie. So,
out of all 9 movies, well, I know that's not including Solo and Rogue One, but I'm counting the episode ones. Which is your favorite?
Empire Strikes Back.
Ooh. Not a bad choice. Mine's going to be episode 3.
Yeah,
Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith was really good. Yeah, I have to say that was really, really good. I was in a Star Wars phase for about maybe a year and a half, and I would watch it just. Oh, I would watch all the movies just over and over and over. And I
I'm
even
still
wanted.
in that phase. I mean,
I agree. Well, wow. Okay. Okay. Well, I don't know if I could get one of those, but I appreciate that you did actually. I mean, somewhere I probably still have my Star Wars T-shirt, which I used to wear all the time. In fact, I probably wore it on one of these streams here, but I don't know why I don't have it anymore. But I do appreciate the Star Wars. Yeah, but what do you think of the Rise of Skywalker, real quick?
I feel like the story was a bit of a mess up to that point. Too many things
Yeah,
got confused. There was no
the ending was a
actual.
little bit of a bummer. I have to say. I hope I'm spoiling
Yeah,
it for anybody
it
at this
was.
point.
It's the fact that it was agreed, like it was arranged beforehand. They were going to have a big lightsaber battle, Palpatine versus Rey and Kylo,
Yep.
and then it originally was meant to be that Anakin sort of comes back, but then it's just like, oh, we just get their voices. So his path got cut. So Hayden was taken away from any meetings and press conferences. Like, because I know the guy who plays the Emperor, he went to Disney to do a few bits and bobs there, and it was just like they cut him. Hayden was meant to be there, but they cut Hayden from it. Too many changes, not enough of a plan. Like, you gotta have a plan. If you're trying to do something, you need a plan. Everyone has a plan. Like,
Yeah,
that's
there
the
was
thing.
just listen. There's a number of different things, and I can get into that another time. But I obviously will talk Star Wars for sure another time. But I do want to get to some of the wrestlers because they're looking at it here and they're like, "What are you doing talking Star Wars?" So I don't want to.
I mean, we'll talk about that after I get my championship.
All
So
right,
it's all
fair
good.
enough. I'll give you that. So Robert DeCaro's got a couple of comments. Obviously, he is 1/3 of the society, which we have seen run rough shit here and saw in Nonstop Action Wrestling and UKW. We've seen them as well. And he says, "I should have won that battle royal."
I mean, he's got a point, but it's all well and good saying you should have won, but you were hiding through most of that battle royal.
Wasn't that Randy Orton one year in a Royal Rumble? I'm pretty sure that was Randy Orton one year. All of a sudden they
Oh no,
forgot about him.
it was Rusev when Roman Reigns won.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure there was one Rumble where they forgot like Randy Orton. It was Randy Orton or The Miz. I was want to say one of those Rumbles. I'm almost certain of it. Somebody out there can correct us, but I do know that's where I thought originally that Robert
Yeah.
Takaro got that idea.
To be fair, it was a very, very smart idea. I mean, he nearly won. Like, I forgot he was there until after I got eliminated. And I'm
You
like,
forgot, really? You of all people forgot?
I didn't know he was there. All I knew is everyone else is out the ring. And I'm like, okay, it's two of us left. I'm going to win. And then all of a sudden, boom, I'm out. And he shows up. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, where did you come from? Like, very smart. I think if I would have been the last one in that match, I would have been fuming at him. I would have
Oh, I'm sure. There's no
absolutely beaten
question
him.
that there's a lot of people there that would have understandably so. And he also points out, which I was actually going to ask you next anyway. He says young Horace winning was the biggest fluke ever. You do think about it here when it comes to people that have won battle royals, rumbles, whatever you want to call them at this point. I mean, he's definitely one of the more unlikely winners and ever a rumble I could think of or a battle royal, whatever you want to call it. As I pointed out, I mean, you feel the same way because you've been in a lot of events. You've been a champion. You're a champion currently. I mean, how does that rank up there to what Robert DeCaro just said?
I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, that was literally, he was beaten, not just by me, but Robert as well, beat him quite a bit. And then all of a sudden, one little slip, literally slip on the ropes to put it down, completely accidental. Then also the little slip of his foot around the back of his head. And then we're both out. So it wasn't intentional. It was definitely accidental. He couldn't hold himself up. That's the reason why I'm up. Why I'm out. Because he couldn't hold himself up. He collapsed and pulled that rope down. And the fact his leg slipped behind his head, it's a fluke.
Yeah, again, and I love young Horace, obviously. I love his ring abilities, and we have a comment from him in a second. But you do think about Rumble Battle Royal winners. It is one of the more unlikely ones. I mean, I'm not saying that he had no percent chance, but it's one of those you wouldn't have expected. If I would have said Robert DeCaro, if I would have said you as examples of one, or even somebody like a Pride, I would have said, yo, you know what? All right, that would have made sense. I could have believed that for a number of different reasons. And
Mm.
he says here, young Horace, I took 34 L's in a row. Take the L and chill, lads.
I mean, 1 L is enough for me to not be happy. So you take 34, that's fine. You're going to be 35 at the Halloween show. And then you're also going to be 36 after I beat you again.
Yeah, but wait. 1 second here, because you say he's going to have 35. But when I asked you that question on who would you rather face, you did say it would be easier to beat young Horace, no?
Yes, but it doesn't mean he's gonna win, does he?
True.
I think he's gonna lose, but when he loses, it's gonna be 36.
Okay. All right. I mean, I would have just thought, okay, you want young Horace, you get young Horace, you get the title. That would have been my point.
I'm a patient guy. I don't mind waiting. If I have to go through Horace to get my title shot, I don't mind.
I have another comment from young Horace, and I'll come back to him. But I have somebody else here. It says, "See, Chris, we are watching silently. Monty's still practicing comebacks."
Oh God, Temmie's got to get a bit older first before he starts practicing, and he has to go to a training school.
All right, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. Certainly, if you do training out there, make sure it's at a good place, and make sure you listen to your trainers, because certainly you want to make sure you do the right things and do everything safely and sound. But young Horace does come back here and says, "That's cause I'm the underdog, Tom. One look at me, and you can count me out. You don't see the heart and fire inside, which evidently you don't have, which apparently." Kind of goes into this fire and gold thing. So he's saying basically he has the heart, and that kind of fueled him here to winning and eliminating you.
Heart or pure dumb luck? The fact is, he couldn't hold himself up, and the fact he fell over and ended up pulling the rope. Nothing about heart.
Is there a thing in wrestling called luck?
There is, but also luck only lasts for so long.
True, because it's luck, right? Luck would mean that the law of logic eventually evens out.
Because then Horace meets someone like me in a one-on-one match, and then he realizes his luck doesn't last.
Well, it goes back to what the lawman Kyle Kennedy had posted when it came to the time here. And sometimes what happens with time, right? Or all the times, time runs out.
Mm-hmm.
And will the clock strike midnight when it comes to young Horace's amazing run here? I'm not quite sure, but he does come back here and says, "You fell harder, Chris."
I mean, that floor did hurt.
Oh, I could imagine. I've watched a lot of these shows here at the Be Strong Performance Center there in Swinton, and I could certainly say that floor hurts. And in fact, I was watching backyard wrestling here in the state of Wisconsin, and I was watching a wrestler. He did a moonsault and he fell from the outside. And they're trained wrestlers who actually wrestle in backyards. They have like a professional wrestling ring. They have a real setup. But they wrestle because they're like in the middle of nowhere. And like, think of it like how we have in England. We have like wrestling shows at carnivals. It's almost the same exact type of thing. And this guy, and I asked him, I said, well, did it hurt when you fell and you fell to the outside on the concrete ground? He's like, no, it hurt. He's like, trust me, it hurts. So these things hurt. They definitely hurt. Listen, they used to always say there was a show called America's Funniest Home Videos, and they'd always say, don't try this at home, kids. And that definitely, when it comes to professional wrestling, don't try this at home. Only if you're safely trained. And certainly we'll see here. But I do think, though, that, again, maybe in a way, because young Horace is going back and forth with you, he's not focused on the current champion right now. That's the wild card Tommy Dillon, because you pointed out the wild card Tommy Dillon. I mean, he's right now on quite the run. He's the champion, and he's a guy to get into this tournament's had some big wins. And I've seen him in GTM. I've seen him in UKW. And, I mean, maybe that's where his focus should be. Is this part of what maybe you want in a way, kind of to play mind games with young Horace, or what do you think?
Could be all part of the plan. That's the thing. I don't mind. If I have to wait for that championship, if I've got to go through Horace after he loses, then I don't mind. I'm a patient guy. I will come up there and I will batter him black and blue. You won't see him again for a while. The thing is, though, he knows I can beat him anytime, any day, and he should be focusing, not listening and thinking about me, not thinking that I'm going to show up completely randomly to put him off, or maybe play my music when he least expects it. I don't
Well,
know how, but
I gotta ask this question because it's an interesting. As we're speaking with pro wrestling star here, Chris Murphy. Of course, Chris Murphy you see all over the world in different companies, wrestled in multiple countries. Obviously, he's a current tag team champion at the moment. He's a huge things over at Nonstop Action Wrestling, where he is obviously going to be somebody that is going to be a big, big part of things in the future. But I mean, there is a little bit of a transition because you go 0-34, and it's almost like you go into it and you're expecting, right, not to
mm,
win. You're expecting to have something that happens where it's not going to work out in your favor. But now he's got some wins under his belt. Now he's got this battle royal win under his belt. Do you think maybe in a sense there does almost like think of it like in the Rocky movies where Rocky all of a sudden became the champion and all of a sudden it kind of got to his head? You see that at all maybe for young Horace where he starts winning now, gets on this winning streak, and it's the total 360, and just maybe he loses a little bit of some of that heart that fueled him to getting to where he is in this kind of comeback almost.
I think a couple wins maybe get into his head, thinking
Mm.
that just because he's won a couple, he's going to win the big time. He's not focusing on who he should be focusing. Tommy Dillon is focusing on Horace. Tommy Dillon is not thinking of me.
Oh, Tommy Dillon's a veteran. Listen, you don't have to explain it to me. I've watched him in
Mm.
GTM. I've watched him in UKW. Saw his match with Goliath. Tommy Dillon's the head trainer there at Nonstop Action Wrestling for a reason. So Tommy
Mm-hmm.
Dillon is going to definitely look at young Horace and take him very, very seriously. And he's a veteran. He's been in the business now a while. So he's going to know that he has to be on his A game, especially a guy like him, that it's meant so much to him to win this title. We saw all the videos on social media. We saw what he's meant to the locker room. So I am sure that Tommy Dillon is paying paying close attention to all of this.
He is. He's looking. He's looking in and seeing Horace going back and forth to me and thinking of me. He's thinking, you know what, this could be an easy day. The fact that I'm in Horace's head and Tommy Dillon's just sitting there watching, be like, I've got my work easy. Was it easy work? Like he just needs to put his feet up, relax, have a beer. He's sorted. That's the thing.
And I do have a comment from somebody, and I want to make sure I recognize this comment and says, "What a great wrestler Chris Murphy is. Excited to see more of him wherever he goes. Absolutely, no question
Oh,
about it.
thank you.
Very, very excited. We're all excited to see you back in the ring. I'm going to get to that in a few minutes. But young Horace says, look how it went the last time someone thought beating me was easy.
Need I say more about that top rope?
Well, I think it's going to be something that we're going to be speaking about quite a bit here on Sportswire Radio. I look forward to having young Horace back. Probably not next week, but definitely the following week. And you can put that in your calendar, young Horace. We'll definitely work on getting you back next week after the week coming up. So definitely I will be in touch for sure and be seeing you, as they would say famously in the John Wick movies. But I do want to talk about the comeback because I do feel like that there was a great comment that was made, and we're excited to see more of you for sure. And talk to me about earlier this year in February, where you step into the ring for the first time in almost 3 years. You had a really, really gruesome injury, and I know COVID also was a big setback as well. But what did that mean to you, February 12th, 2022? Over 6 months ago, you returned to the ring for the first time in about 3 years. What did that mean to you?
Well, it meant an awful lot because I was thinking the way things are going, I was just like, I don't know. I started going training down at Genesis Pro Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
They are based in Maidstone. So if anyone wants to go for a training school down in Kent, Genesis Pro Wrestling, very good guys there, very well run, fully recommended. So yeah, they are very, very good. And it was just like they gave me a chance. Like I had quite a few weeks of training, trying to get myself back into shape. And and they were like, we'll put you in a match. I'm like, okay. So, all right. So it was against Leo Strong.
I know Leo Strong, sure.
Yeah, unfortunately he got the win. But then the same night, I got to do a tag team match against Leo and his tag partner, and I was teamed with Percy Trainer. I think he's got 7 or 3% body fat.
I mean, I know Rick Marcus. I'm friends with Rick Marcus, but I don't even think Rick Marcus has 3% body fat. He probably has 10 or 8. I mean, the fact that he's got 3% body fat, I mean, that's unbelievable.
He's a personal trainer, isn't he? So
True,
he knows
true,
his stuff.
true.
Um, but yeah, like that was a crazy experience. Then, like a week or two later, we did another show in Ballin in Maidstone, which Ballin is like a nightclub,
Okay.
and that was a very big venue. And I was like, wow, okay. So again, Genesis Pro Wrestling, I give them a lot of credit for letting me come back. And yeah, it was a long road to recovery, to be completely honest. Like to get to that stage where I was worried my shoulder's not going to hang on, because well, not hang on, but cope. Because after having a tendon tear in your shoulder and taking like 2 years off due to COVID after the surgery, so doing all the rehab, all that was fine. Due to come back in May 2020, COVID happened, and unfortunately, it just sort of delayed things even longer. And yeah, it just was a nightmare. And
How
shoulder
did
was
you
healing.
feel? Yeah, how did you feel? So you're supposed to come back. Obviously, the pandemic definitely delays things. We don't come back to wrestling until around summer 2021 or so. Everybody comes back. Most
Mm.
companies did, and maybe a few here and there. We do work with KOW. They waited longer, but by and large, most people start coming back. Let's say June, July of last year. I mean, for an injury like that, I mean, was that a setback actually in itself, knowing that you were supposed to come back, but because of COVID, that you weren't able to work your body the way you were used to working? I mean, walk me through that experience.
Well, I'll tell you what, it really hurt after a while. Not just my shoulder, but not wrestling for a while. It hurts like physically a lot. You don't realize it when you're wrestling quite often.
Sure.
As soon as you stop, you start to feel it a bit more. So you kind of need to wrestle. And then the 2 years of COVID kind of like messed it all up. And then, but it was just like, it was horrible. Like during the pandemic as well, like I just wanted to come back. I was like, all right, when May came around, I was like, I could be wrestling right now. And I had a whole plan of how to come back, whole new gear, which you can see from the last show.
Mm-hmm.
New gear, everything was ordered, bought, got it, and I was like, cool, I am ready to go. Let's do this. COVID happened, and I'm like, so close. But thankfully now the shoulder is fully recovered, but it took a while. I mean, because the rehab was horrible. It was
Oh, I
when
could
you can't feel
imagine. I
yeah.
could imagine because I see these injuries, and they happen a lot here in America in baseball, where these pitchers get these injuries, and sometimes, in some cases, it could take them 18 months to come back or even a little longer than that. And this is an injury, especially for a wrestling side of it, because your shoulder is so important. I mean, whether it's going through the ring, whether it's your punches, whether it's whatever offense that you take, and obviously for yourself, your body is pretty much a moving object. I mean, to have an injury like that, I mean, it's such a difficult injury to go through. And then on top of it, you don't get a chance to come back. Was there ever a point that you said, you know what? I want to move on with my career because it's 3 years almost. I mean, because there was a period for several months, even after wrestling had returned here after COVID, that you didn't come back. Was there ever maybe a moment or two that crossed your mind? Said, you know what? I've done a lot in wrestling. I've been a champion. I'm a champion currently. This isn't for me.
Yeah, to be completely honest, there has been like 1 or 2 of those moments during COVID. I was like, everything happening, the way I'm feeling, do I want to come back? And at that point, I was thinking, if I think that, then I'm doing something wrong. And then, I was just like, one day I was just thinking, why don't I just try again? Like restart, change up the character slightly, change up the gear, change up the way I feel about things, treat every booking like it's your last, and that motivates me to do more because I'm treating every booking like it's my last. Like I don't get booked everywhere, left, right, and center as I would love to be, but I'm taking every booking as I can, like it's my last one. I like to talk to every single person in the locker room. I want to know about them. I want to know about their stories. I just want to know about them as a person and them as a worker as well as a bonus. So that's what I mean. It was a hard time to be completely honest. Like emotions were everywhere. I was like, I don't know what to do. I thought the best thing to do is give up. But thankfully I didn't because I wouldn't be talking I wouldn't be here talking to you. I wouldn't have met all the amazing wrestlers as well. That's what I mean. I think I made the right call coming back.
I think you definitely made the right call because I think you have so much to give to professional wrestling. I think the passion that you have for it, the love that you have for it, and I think you're going to do a lot, not just listen championships and wins, but also I think helping a lot of these younger wrestlers, like I see in Nonstop Action Wrestling, that can learn from somebody like you that has been in there and been in the big time, has had those success and had those championships. So I definitely think you absolutely made the right decision. I am very happy that you called me out on Sportswire Radio's Facebook page. I am very happy that we are speaking right now. Listen, at this point, I tell everybody, you want to go pile on me, call me. Listen, Slugger Hampton called me out on Sunday. Gareth Angel mentioned me in one of his promos. I mean, by all means, feel free. Just pile on me at this point. I mean, I was at a family party, and the guy was like, oh, well, you cover wrestling in England. I'm like, yeah, I cover it. Feel free. Just go on at this point. I have no problem. So if it helps you, it helps your career. God bless you. And that's why we love having Pro Wrestling Star here, Chris Murphy from Nonstop Action Wrestling and many other companies here. Got another 20 minutes or so hanging out with him. It is a tremendous honor to have him on here. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryson. I could not agree here with this comment. Great guy, Chris Murphy, great worker and brilliant person. I meant to say I could not
Thank
agree
you.
more with this comment because I was clearly tongue twisted there. But I did want to ask you, and we have another comment here. Tom, you were the greatest of all time. No, trust me. I'm nothing. I'm nobody. Just go to the BBG guy, Chris Lappin. There's now 3 Count Radio. Go to those guys. Those are the real
Mate, you're killing it.
geniuses.
You're killing it. Big time,
Well,
man.
well, I appreciate that very much. But in the meantime, enough about me. Let's talk about Chris Murphy because that's who I want to talk about. And I wanted to ask you, though, because I won't mention the JPR match because obviously we want to leave aside that. But I will talk about, though, what did it mean to you to be a double champion a few years back? What was that feeling like? I mean, talk to me about that.
I felt very heavy. That's for
I
sure.
wasn't expecting that, but okay.
No, it was honestly a surreal experience. Like when a company wants to put their title on you, and the fact that I fought my way to get it, and the fact that I beat one half of I'd say one of the best one of the best British tag team wrestlers that there has been, who haven't got as much recognition as they should do, but it's called the Hit Set.
Sure. I've
So
heard of the
they
headset. Yes, I have. I've heard of it.
yeah, so Kieran Corrupt and Alexander Roth. Kieran Corrupt was the BCW British Counties champion, and me and him went 1-on-1, and I beat him fair and square with a Styles clash. Horace, look out! I'm sorry,
Ooh,
but
ooh.
that's the thing. I faced Kieran Corrupt in a 1-on-1 match down in was it Wallington? So I think that's near Croydon way. But yeah, I faced him, which was a very, very fun and very painful match as well. And that came out of the gold, and I was not complaining whatsoever. But then he kind of got his revenge on me later that night, where it was a rumble. He grabbed my title and hit me over the head, and I went out the rumble. So I was unlucky there. But like I said, Alexander Roth and Kieran Corrupt, definitely a tag team I would highly recommend. Like them to amazing work. Alexander Roth was on one of the most recent Progress shows.
Yep.
You guys can see that on the WWE Network.
I was going to say, and actually, I get the benefit because even though in America, quote unquote, it's on Peacock, I actually have the feed, the worldwide feed. So I actually still, like our friends here in the United Kingdom, I actually still get to watch the WWE Network. And don't ask how. If you want to ask, I can tell you off the air because I'll probably get in a lot of trouble how I get the feed. But I do want to also give an acknowledge to Supersonic Sammy Blue, who I've seen quite a bit of. And I got to ask you then now, what's your impressions of Supersonic Sammy Blue out there in the ring?
I mean, I definitely need to see more of him, but then if I see more, it's going to be an easier win for me.
True, true, true.
But so far, what I've seen, he's a very stand-up guy, very decent wrestler.
Oh,
But
great
again,
wrestler.
yeah, very great wrestler. I think it's, again, compared to me, you're going to lose. I'm sorry, but I do give him credit though. He is very good. A long way to go in his career. He's got so much time, which is even better. He can. It's like with all the guys. Every young wrestler coming through has got so far to go. All they need to do is listen to everyone, but also remember when you get like, always be humble, always be welcome, always listen, but don't always listen to like you have to pick and choose what you listen to. Because if I come in and say, "Oh, do this," and it's absolute rubbish, you've got to realize from your point of view what is good advice and what could be not so good. Because I could tell you, "Oh, do like a 450 off here," but then if it's not needed, it's not needed. It may look cool, but
I've heard that before from wrestlers, and wrestlers will tell me that don't do something just because it might look cool. It might not warrant it in that match. It might not work for you. It might not also work for your opponent. Sometimes you try things, and there's an old expression. They say, "Keep it simple, stupid," meaning kiss. They say it a lot in music. Basically, in music, they say, "Listen, just stick to what works because if it works, people, it's working for you." So I think there is a point to that in wrestling that try to do yes what you want to do, but also at the same time make sure it's right for the match, but also the safety of your opponent as well. So I think that's a huge part of things here. And also I couldn't agree with this more. Would it be called the Murphy's Clash? Yeah, I think it would be called the Murphy's Clash. That's what I think.
I mean that's not a bad idea to be fair. Like I've got a few moves that I've renamed. Like the RKO is Murphy's Law. So basically that means whatever can go wrong will go wrong. As soon as I heard that, you know it's gone wrong.
All right.
So,
Well, let me come back, and I agree with you on that. But let me come back to Supersonic Sammy Blue, and he says it would be an honor to put my experience to the test against you, Chris. Don't watch my matches though beforehand. I want you unprepared.
you can have me unprepared, but then that's even more dangerous.
Mm, fair point. Fair play. Fair play. Fair
Because
play.
then
Fair play at all.
I'm not expecting you to do anything, so I'm going all guns blazing.
Sammy's on a run though. Sammy's had some big wins of late. Sammy, listen, he's got a win over Remus Kane. I've seen him in the ring with Robert DeCaro. He's got a win over him, and he's got some big wins of late. Supersonic Sammy Blue's another guy, and I was watching the showcase match in GTM last month at their last show, and Sammy to me was maybe the standout in that show. So Sammy's a guy that we'll definitely get him back, and he's definitely somebody that I could definitely see you and him in the ring. And speaking of wrestlers, I'd love to see in the ring personally with it. I know he's coming back on here tomorrow night with us, right around this time here, about 9 o'clock, and that is Disciple. And I'm sure that you know Mr. Disciple very well, and Mr. Disciple, big man like you, and also is kind of almost sees things very similar to you. And I mean, what would you think about that? You and Disciple. I mean, that would be a match I think would put a lot of butts in the seats.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah. I would love to face. I would love to face him. See what I can get out of him. See if I can kick him in the head a couple of times.
Oh, he's got a lot of the same ideas that you have. So I kind of see some similarities. So maybe right now, not today. Maybe when we see in the ring, maybe we see you guys on the same side of things, but I see a lot of similarities there. But listen, who knows what the future brings? I do want to say that. But I got to ask you, and because obviously you are a current champion, you have to be, I think, the one of the longest reigning defending champions in all of wrestling, actually. And the reason that is because you are currently one half of the PRW Tag Team Champions and
PROW.
PROW Tag Team Champions. And I mean, you've been a champion there. I'm pretty safe to say longer than Roman's been a champion, or maybe any other wrestler I can think of. And
Yeah.
I mean, what does that feel then, being one of the longest reigning champions in all of professional wrestling, which you technically are?
True. Unfortunately, it's not the vending, which is a bit of a pain because the problem was though, when me and my tag team partner both won the tag titles. My partner TK, lovely guy. Yeah. So unfortunately, when we were scheduled to be back on the show, I had a holiday booked, so I was away for that time. And then he went and won a singles title. The selfish little person. How dare he go and win a title about me when could have at least had me there, because I probably would have beaten him for it. But no, congratulations to him for winning that title. And then again, when was the next show, we were meant to face someone for our tag titles, but unfortunately he was away. So then I had a triple threat match. So it's just like, we had the chance, but unfortunately we haven't had many opportunities at the same time when we've both been free. But if anyone wants us, I've speaking for myself. Need to double check with him, see if he still wants to do it. And then we don't mind, because I love teaming with the guy. Literally, first time we teamed together, it was completely random. It was down for People's Republic of Pro Wrestling. It was a triple threat tag team match for the PROW titles. We got put together and we clicked like that. Like literally, first time we met and we clicked, and then we've been a team since then.
Well, that's certainly interesting stories, to say the least here. I mean, no question that those are some things I could definitely see maybe happen in the future. Stay tuned. And I wanted to ask you, JJ Creations. What does JJ Creations mean to you? Talk to me about that.
Amazing gear. Like, my wrestling gear, like, love it. Like, I said in my sizes, they asked me a few questions, like, what I said to you, what do you need? They sent me this. Very reasonable price as well. Very, very good. The gear came quite quickly. And very, very nice and very, very well, as you call customer service. But it was like, they were spot on. They were talking to me the whole time. Like, I asked some questions. They're like, oh, yeah, this is happening. But honestly, let me just grab on my kick pad covers. So this is like a shiny green and gold. It's a bit bent right now because it's a bit messed up. But literally, green and gold pattern is lovely. I sent them a really complicated pattern, and they were like, "Cool, yeah, leave it with us." And I was like, "Is that going to be too difficult?" And they're like, "No, that's fine. We'll do it." I was like, "Okay, then. I trust you." And then very, very good work.
Interesting. Because I always would have thought that it's so important to have ring gear, and I kind of think in a lot of ways that it's actually a lot more important than people realize. I mean, talk to me that ring gear, and just I kind of think in a lot of ways it tells the story for you as a wrestler.
Yeah, believe it or not, like when I first started, I had no idea what I wanted to do for a gimmick, so I just had my first name put on gear. I had these bright yellow tights with Chris in black and white on the side, like small side going across like that. So just had Chris, but then on my other pair I had a green pair with a shamrock. I thought, okay, if I go down the Irish gimmick, I've got that. And it's funny, in one picture you guys can probably see on my Facebook page, in about 2015, I was in Portugal and I had to wear my yellow gear for a show. So I remember I did a diving headbutt off the top rope at this football stadium. It was an indoor part of a football stadium.
Wow. Okay.
And the view, like the picture, looked amazing because the picture's like probably going up, and you can see me just flying out like that. And it was very, very good. And the crowd in Portugal are amazing. It was a Centro de Trainers de Wrestling. I can't remember how to pronounce
That's
it. That's
pretty cool.
Literally, they're still going. They've had some amazing wrestlers on there. They had Pete Dunne before he signed for the WWE.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, they've had Tajiri. They've had loads of big names. They also, Red Eagle is very, very good. Like Red Eagle, he's been to Japan and everything. He smashed it over there. And it's like Red Eagle. You got Claudia. Is it Broads? I can never pronounce the last name, but
I'm from New York, so I'm not good at pronouncing any names to begin with. So who am I?
English and Irish. I'm terrible at pronouncing names.
So obviously two of us. I was going to ask you next about, so I could certainly see why. And what does it mean to be the Fighting Irish? I mean, what does that mean? Because to me, it is so you. I mean, and also, do you ever get compared to Sheamus at all?
All the time.
I figured that. Why am I asking that question? But I had to do it.
It's between Sheamus, Conor McGregor, and who else is it? Yeah, Sheamus and Conor McGregor are the main two. And I'm just like, okay, because I tried adapting like an MMA style because I'm a big fan of MMA. I tried taking some things from MMA into wrestling. Sort of more like, because I used to do like amateur wrestling when I was younger. So I like doing the whole shoot sort of side of it. Big fan of the shoot wrestling because it's complicated. It's difficult.
Yeah, I
It's
always
fun.
thought in a lot of ways, actually learning some of that stuff actually helps your overall ring ability. And I think learning the difference, because again, you always heard about wrestlers like a Shelton Benjamin, for example, kind of gets a little bit lost in the shuffle, but his experiences, the amateur back, obviously Brock Lesnar, Charlie Haas, another name that I kind of think kind of gets lost, but has made a big comeback, kind of like you made a comeback of late. And certainly, I do think it's important to kind of have some of that background, and I think some of those things actually help your overall ability. I mean, would you recommend that to some of the younger wrestlers, maybe learning more of that?
Yeah, because when I started, I think it was like 2006, or 2006, 2007. I was very, very young. I wanted to do wrestling. My family didn't like the idea of me doing it. So they said, all right, to meet in the middle, we'll take you to a training school down in Lewisham, which was called Lewisham Wrestling Club. And I met one of the guys two of the guys that teach pro wrestling, which is Dom Taylor, who's still kind of wrestling. He's going over to Austria, I think, in December to wrestle.
So he's like a Dan Evans then for us.
Yeah.
He's everywhere. I mean, I lost count. In fact, Dan Evans was in America not too long ago. He's literally like everywhere at this point.
Really?
Yep. I don't think he was wrestling here, but I know he was here because I saw it on Facebook because we're friends on Facebook. But I mean, he's wrestled he was in the Netherlands not too long ago wrestling.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I would love to go over there to wrestle because I've never been there. I really want to go there because it sounds amazing.
Yeah, I think that's what people were asking him about it on Facebook, and that's what he said. I mean, what is that like then for you? Because you've actually wrestled in Wales. I mean, talk to me about wrestling in Wales. What was that like?
Wales was a really good experience. Like, we got to wrestle briefly with Eddie Dennis, which was quite interesting. The guys up in Wales is Exist Pro Wrestling.
Okay.
They are very, very good. Jez Garner, one of the main guys, absolutely lovely guy. Kicked him in the face once, so I'm not complaining. But no, absolutely lovely place. People there are amazing. Very, very good workers. Very, like when I first met them, it was actually at People's Republic of Wrestling.
Okay.
Because they sort of worked together with them, and then that's how we got in to go to Wales. So that all worked out for the best, really, I think. And the guys in Wales, love them. They're great. They can have a laugh, and plus they have a drink afterwards as well with myself, because I always enjoy having a drink after a show. It's just like a after match sort of thing.
Okay.
If I could go after a match, if I can go have a drink, just like one to celebrate, be like, you know what, we're all safe, we're all good, boom, let's have it, let's cheers to that.
Amen to that. No, listen, I mean, you'd definitely be probably the kind of guy that I would definitely want to have a drink with here. But I wanted to ask you before I get to closing thoughts, and what are your goals upcoming in wrestling for the rest of the year?
Rest of the year, I would like to win another championship, which will be nice.
I think I kind of got an idea what title that would be.
Was it that obvious?
Kind of.
I would love to win that title. That big gold shiny one would look very good around my waist, but I'll give Tommy Dillon his moment in the sun. So I'll be coming after him next. But I've got to say, for now, it's just to do as many matches as I can possible. If I have to kick someone in the face, I'm not going to complain.
Well, I'm sure that person will definitely get the brunt of that, and I'm glad that I'm not going to be eating your boot in my face. I'm certainly we'll give our thoughts and prayers to anybody else who might. Maybe Young Horace is that person. I don't know. Stay tuned.
He's down the line. He's down the line.
I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you two other questions before I get to closing thoughts. And one of those questions is, I know you've had a lot of moments in wrestling. I know you've done a lot, but if there was one or two moments in your career that stood out most, what would they be?
Oof. 2 moments, yeah?
Yeah, I'll give you two. You can go with two.
Yeah, sorry. Did you say 1 or 2? Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Go with two. Go, give me two, because I love to hear it.
Oh, God. I mean, the first one has obviously got to be Portugal, because stepping in front of that crowd, wrestling in front of them was surreal. like being in a completely different country. And as for like a newbie at the time, like that was like my first year into wrestling, and I got to do that. The second, oh god, oh my god, I'm just trying to think. I think we'll just leave it at one at the moment. I generally can't think.
I was even gonna say, well, just holding still the People's Republic of Wrestling Tag Team Championships.
Yeah,
So
that
that
was
it's just
a very good moment. Like, yeah, I gotta say, yeah, I'll probably say that one then, because I was a surreal moment. It was like, wow, okay,
you're still a
we done
champ.
it.
Listen, and you're still holding that title. So for me, I think hold that belt up for those that are watching and listening.
Yes,
Hold that
absolutely.
belt. That is a pretty belt. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, that is a pretty,
Oh.
pretty belt. I love the look, and he looks like a champion. Ladies and gentlemen, he looks like the king. That's why he is the Fighting Irish. That's why he is Chris Murphy. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, if I am in Nonstop Action Wrestling or any company right now, I would tread very, very lightly because look at this man right now. Listen, Sheamus has nothing on him. Colin McGregor has nothing on him. This is going to be the guy that I got a feeling is going to be holding gold. Listen, Disciples told us he's going to hold gold within a year. I think Chris Murphy might do it a lot sooner than that. So certainly, I got a feeling he's going to be holding 2 belts once again. So he's got gold on one shoulder. He's going to have gold on the other shoulder very, very soon. And
It makes sense.
I definitely agree. And before I get to closing thoughts here, I wanted to ask you, what do you want to say to anybody in Nonstop Action Wrestling? That could be management, it could be young Horace, anybody else. I'm going to give you the floor. What would you like to say to anybody in Nonstop Action Wrestling?
No one is safe. Everyone is my target. If I have to go through every single person I roster to get what I want, I'm going through every single person in that locker
room. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I could certainly see why. We're excited to see much more of Chris Murphy in the future. And we definitely agree that he's a great worker and a brilliant person. And we definitely agree that we can't wait to see more of him wherever he goes. So all great stuff here. It has been a tremendous honor. I know you're a very, very busy man. You've got young Horace on your mind. You've got more gold on your mind. You've got maybe some YouTube videos to put out there, get some more subscribers. And by the way, go to his page on YouTube, 325 subscribers. So we're almost there to 500. So let's make sure we get there. Also follow his pages on TikTok, Twitch. But I'm going to give you the floor now, my friend. I want to give you the floor. Anything you want to plug, share, say, anything that we're missing. And I can't thank you enough. And the floor is yours. And well, fire away, my friend.
So yeah, basically check out my TikTok, _Chris_Murphy1, where I post all my cosplay stuff and occasional wrestling videos if I find them and if I chop them up right. Also, check out my wrestling fan page, which is down below, because any updates, you will see them on there. And anywhere that wants me, let me know.
And feel free to tag Sportzwire. Anything you want. I tell all the time. Feel free to tag me. I will share it. I'm in like 25 different groups on Facebook for wrestling. So at this point, if there's anything that you want me to share, I'm happy to share it because I always try my best to support.
I really do appreciate it. And I really appreciate you having me on here. Let me talk to you and let me talk to everyone watching. So thank you very much. And thank you for those listening as well. I know I can go on a bit, but thank you very much.
No, listen, I think it's great because you know what? Sometimes I interview people, and I'll say this before I let you go. Sometimes I've actually spoken with like politicians, I've had on athletes, and like you think, oh, okay, like they're gonna really talk all day, and they wound up. I had a state senator on here in New York, and you think, okay, she's a very, very famous politician. It was like talking to dry paint. It was just like you couldn't even get anything out of her. And the chief of staff was like, well, you know what? I'm telling you, if you get 30 minutes out of her, you'll be lucky. I got 32 minutes. So, I mean, that just shows you.
That's
so you never know. So I love the fact that you talk. And I love the fact that you were going to do some big things. And I'm happy that you're back out there in the ring. And ladies and gentlemen, it has been a tremendous honor to have you. And congratulations, my friend, all the success. Looking forward to having you back on here maybe the next few weeks and talk much, much more about you. Because
when I get my championship, when I get my new championship, then I'm definitely going to do a celebration interview with you. 100%.
I'm looking forward to that. So we can't wait.
We'll have a drink. We'll have a drink literally in our hands. We'll do that on here as well.
Hey, I'm all in. Listen, I'll make sure I'll even make a special exemption here to have a drink with you if you're a champion. I promise you. In fact, I'll go on the record. You know what? Before I go, as the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce, when Chris Murphy wins his next championship, he comes on to Sportswire. I will have a drink with him on the air. I'll take a couple of zips. I'm not going to drink the whole thing because God forbid,
Ah,
but I'll drink a little bit. I'll drink as much as I can because we are live and God forbid somebody's out there.
true.
But for sure, I promise we'll make that happen. But my
Sounds like a
friend,
plan.
I can't thank you enough, and we're looking forward to speaking with you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very much again.
As we're here on Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station with pro wrestling star here, Chris Murphy, was definitely worth having him on. He is the People's Republic of Wrestling tag team champion, one half of the tag team champions there. I was tongue-tied mentioning it so many times over. But he is one of the longest reigning defending champions in all of pro wrestling. And now you can catch him as a part of Nonstop Action Wrestling, where you saw him on the last show, Fire and Gold, in a kind of a controversial way. He lost that battle royal, but something tells me he will come back and win that championship very, very soon. See what happens between the winner of Young Horus and the wild card, Tommy Dillon. And we will most likely be back here for sure with him in the near and distant future. And we'll also be back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. with Disciple. So a lot to get into here with Disciple. Bentley has kind of called him out a little bit. And we've got some stuff here at Nonstop Action Wrestling to get off his chest, GTM. So looking forward to all of that. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And if you are on Sportswire Radio and sportnarium.com/prayer, you'll go back to your regularly scheduled programming. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll be back very soon with pro wrestling star Chris Murphy. Thank you. Good night.